about the interracial marriage because we said, oh, wow, it's going to get us canceled, right? Because nobody had ever done it before. And we didn't know what to expect.
Just now, shocking news emerged about Sherman Hemsley's ordeal. His body was left unattended in a cooler for months after The Jeffersons was abruptly canceled. This beloved show, which delighted viewers from 1975 to 1985, left its stars stranded without a future plan. What secrets do the contrasting lives of The Jeffersons cast from then to now hold? Tune in as we delve into the dramatic shifts that define their past and shape their present. The secret struggles of the Jeffersons cast. The Jeffersons had enjoyed a decade of popularity, spanning 11 seasons before its abrupt cancellation, leaving the cast uninformed and unprepared. An exploration into the aftermath reveals the varied paths the cast members embarked upon. Additionally, peculiar occurrences surfaced, such as the 4-month delay in Sherman Hemsley's burial, his body remaining in a cooler during this period. Furthermore, backstage disputes almost resulted in Isabel Sanford being ousted from her role, highlighting the tensions that simmered beneath the surface of this once celebrated show. As the final curtain fell on the set of The Jeffersons, a shadow of mystery lingered. Mike Evans, who played Lionel Jefferson, was the only child of the main characters, George and Louise Jefferson. Lionel was an interesting mix. He was smart and driven, but could sometimes come across as not so bright. He had a strong sense of right and wrong and wasn't afraid to stand up for what he believed in. Lionel was born on October 18, 1953, meaning he would have been around 22 when the Jeffersons started in 1975. Mike Evans, who was born on November 3, 1949, was actually 26 when the show began. While Lionel wasn't always in the spotlight, his role was important. The Jeffersons was a spin-off from another hit show called All in the Family. Lionel first appeared in the pilot episode of All in the Family back in 1971, even before the main character, Archie Bunker, was introduced. In a bold move for television at the time, Lionel was one of the first black sitcom characters with a lot of screen time. He also openly challenged racist comments from white characters, which was a daring choice for the network. They weren't sure how their mostly white audience would react. Lionel's character was written to face these challenges with both intelligence and humor, which was a risky and new approach. Mike Evans, eager to develop his character further, suggested a storyline to Norman Lear, the creator of the show, that introduced Lionel's parents. This led to George and Louise Jefferson joining All in the Family. These characters became so popular that they got their own show, The Jeffersons. But that wasn't the worst part. Mike Evans wasn't the only actor to play Lionel. Damon Evans, no relation, took over the role after the first season. And before Mike was cast in The Jeffersons, the character of Lionel was played by actor Derville Martin in the first 2 pilot episodes of All in the Family. Mike Evans hadn't planned on being an actor. He got the role of Lionel by chance, but after the first season, he left the show in a storm of rumors. Jimmy Walker, a star from the show Good Times, hinted that Evans wanted more money and more screen time because he saw himself as an essential part of the Jeffersons. Instead of negotiating, it's said that Norman Lear fired him suddenly. Let's see what changed for the stars behind the scenes. The untold journey of Mike Evans. Another theory is that Evans left to focus on Good Times, a show he co-created that was based on his own life. He even named the youngest character on Good Times after himself. Mike Evans later returned to the Jeffersons for seasons 6 through 8 and again for seasons 9 and 10. But the series ended suddenly after its 11th season, leaving the entire cast and crew in shock. They didn't even get a proper finale. Sherman Hemsley, who played George Jefferson, was shocked when he found out the show was ending. He didn't get any official notice, but instead discovered it by reading a newspaper article. He was confused and kept asking when they would start filming again, only to realize there wouldn't be any more episodes. Isabel Sanford, who played Louise Jefferson, got the sad news from a family member. She was just as shocked and confused about why the show was suddenly over. After the show ended, Mike Evans, another main actor, decided to leave acting. Instead, he focused on real estate, where he found a lot of success. Although he stayed out of the spotlight after that, not much is known about his later years. He passed away on December 14, 2006, at 57 years old from throat cancer. The character of Lionel Jefferson went through a big change early in the series. In the second season, Damon Evans replaced Mike Evans. Even though they had the same last name and were close in age, the two actors were not related. Damon hadn't watched the show before he joined because he was so busy, so he struggled at first to connect with his role. While he eventually got used to it, he didn't really enjoy working on sitcoms and left after 4 seasons to return to his first love, musical theater. But this wasn't the end of his time in front of the camera. Damon made a few small TV appearances after leaving the Jeffersons. He's also been open about some parts of his personal life, including the fact that he is gay and happily married, though he keeps his partner's details private. As of the last update, Damon was enjoying his retirement at the age of 74. Jenny Willis Jefferson, played by Berlinda Tolbert, was a smart and talented fashion designer. She was the biracial daughter of Tom and Helen Willis, and she had to deal with prejudice from George Jefferson, her father-in-law, who called her a zebra because of her mixed background. Despite this, Jenny and Lionel, whom she met in college, had a strong relationship at first. However, their marriage eventually ended in divorce. Berlinda Tolbert brought strength and depth to her character, who first appeared on All in the Family before becoming a key character on The Jeffersons. It was clear from the start that the sons shouldn't have married that woman. Everyone knew it was just a matter of time before the truth came out. Dad, not now, you hold back, planning to deal with him later. Now meet the neighbors and their own quirky stories. The eccentric neighbor of the Jeffersons. Harry Bentley, played by Paul Benedict, was the eccentric English neighbor of George and Louise. He worked as a translator for the United Nations, and while he meant well, his behavior often pushed George to his limits, leading to frequent door slams in his face. I've witnessed it all, as they say. We don't know Harry's exact age, but Paul Benedict, born on September 17, 1938, would have been 37 when the show started. Even though Harry often got on George's nerves, George would sometimes agree to walk on his back to help relieve his back pain. However, in later seasons, they had to stop those scenes because the actor had gained some weight, making it too hard to continue the back walking. Benedict's portrayal of Harry was so believable that many people thought he was actually British. Benedict had a condition called acromegaly, which caused his facial features to change due to an overproduction of growth hormone. Instead of letting this hold him back, he used it to make his comedic performances even better. Interestingly, another actor, Irwin Keyes, who appeared in The Jeffersons, had the same condition. After The Jeffersons, Benedict found success in theater and movies. One of his notable performances was alongside Al Pacino in the 1996 Broadway play, Hui. Many people also remember him from Sesame Street as the Mad Painter. His final acting role was in the 2008 comedy Side by Each before he passed away that same year on December 1st due to a brain hemorrhage. He was 70 years old and left behind his wife Mary Ann. Mother Jefferson, whose real name was Zara Cully, played George's sharp-tongued mother. She often clashed with her daughter-in-law, Louise, but beneath it all, there was real affection between them. Mother Jefferson was known for her love of Bloody Marys. "Here's your Bloody Mary," Louise would say, handing her one with a smile. In the show, Mother Jefferson was supposed to be born in 1901, making her 74 when the series started. But Zara Cully, who played her, was actually born in 1892, almost 10 years older than her character. During the 3rd season, she fell seriously ill with pneumonia and missed a lot of episodes. She briefly returned in season 4, but sadly, her health declined again due to cancer, and she passed away on February 28, 1978, at the age of 86. Florence Johnston, played by Marla Gibbs, was the sharp-tongued maid of George and Louise. She always knew just how to get under George's skin, and their back and forth was a highlight of the show. Despite the constant bickering, Florence still showed respect by calling them Mr. and Mrs. Florence's quick wit soon won over the audience. Florence was born in 1931, making her around 44 years old at the start of the show, just like the actress who played her, Mara Gibbs, who was also born on June 14, 1931. Initially, Florence was only meant to appear occasionally, but viewers loved her so much that she became a regular on the show. Before landing the role of Florence, Gibbs worked as a booking agent for United Airlines while trying to break into acting. She continued working there even after starting on The Jeffersons, where her voice became recognizable to callers. See how big changes at home stir up new stories, from airline attendant to sitcom star. When the actor who played Mother Jefferson, Cully, passed away, the writers replaced her with Florence, giving Gibbs a full-time role. This steady job allowed her to finally leave her airline career. After the Jeffersons unexpectedly ended, Gibbs became the lead in the NBC sitcom 227, which ran for 5 seasons from 1985 to 1990. She continued to appear in many films and TV shows, including Passions, The First Family, Days of Our Lives, and Grey's Anatomy from 2022 to 2024. On a personal note, Marla was married to her high school sweetheart, Jordan Gibbs, from 1955 to 1973, and they had 3 children, Angela, Dorian, and Joseph. As of 2024, Marla is still acting and giving interviews at the age of 93. Tom Willis, whose real name was Franklin Cover, was George and Louise's neighbor. At first, George wasn't comfortable with Tom because Tom was a white man married to a black woman, and they had a biracial daughter. Tom was kind and gentle, but he sometimes let people, including his wife and even George, walk all over him. According to the character's backstory, Tom was born on July 4, 1928, just a few months before Franklin Cover, the actor who played him, was born on November 20th, 1928. Both Tom and Franklin were about 47 at the start of the Jeffersons. In the early seasons, Tom was often the target of George's racial jokes. George would mock Tom using hurtful slurs, but the insults weren't the worst part. As the show progressed, especially after George's son married Tom's daughter, the 2 men became closer. "The slurs are bad," George once joked, "but being married to one is worse. We tried being friends, but I'm not sure we'll try again." Well, maybe we will. Later, Sherman Hemsley, who played George, pushed to remove the slurs from the script, saying they didn't fit his character. When the producers resisted, Hemsley would mumble the words, making them impossible to hear. Eventually, he won the argument, and George stopped using the offensive language. After everything happened, most of the harsh comments aimed at Tom were about his weight. One person even said, "The only way I could copy you is with a barrel of lard and a bucket of white paint." Like a lot of his co-workers, Tom didn't know the show had been canceled. He only found out when it was announced on Entertainment Tonight. After that, he kept acting, showing up in movies and TV shows, sometimes just in a single episode of popular series like The Love Boat, All My Children, Who's the Boss, ER, and Will and Grace. His last role was in 1999. Tom was married to Mary Bradford Stone from 1965 until he passed away in 2006. He died on February 5th at 77 due to complications from pneumonia. Helen Willis, played by Roxy Roker, was Tom's wife Jenny's mother and Louise Jefferson's close friend on the show. Helen often clashed with George Jefferson because of his rude and racially insensitive remarks. But she was always kind-hearted. "You've said it yourself. George can be foolish and wrong. And you were right," she would say, when she stood up to George. Both Helen and Roxy, who played her, were born in 1929, which made them around 46 when the show started. Next, see how daring choices in the show made big waves. The story of TV's first interracial couple. But this wasn't the most remarkable part. Helen and Tom were actually the first interracial couple to be shown on a sitcom. At the time, this was seen as a bold and risky choice, with many people worried that the audience might react negatively. Despite the concerns, Roxy wasn't fazed. When someone asked her if she was okay with doing romantic scenes with a white actor, she calmly showed them her wedding photo. Her real-life husband was Cy Kravitz, a white Jewish man, just like her character's husband on the show. So she was ready for any backlash, having already faced similar situations in her own life. By the way, Roxy and Cy's son is Lenny Kravitz, the famous musician, and she's also related to Al Roker. After the show ended, Roxy continued acting in other shows like The Love Boat and Murder, She Wrote. Her final acting role was in a short comedy film called Statistically Speaking, which came out in 1995. Sadly, she passed away later that same year, in December, after battling breast cancer. She was 66, but that wasn't the last notable figure from the Jeffersons. Isabel Sanford, who played Louise Jefferson, was another key character. Louise was George Jefferson's wife and often kept him in check, especially when he made offensive comments. "Everyone's equal, George, But it seems like you missed out when brains were handed out, she'd joke. Even though Isabel was hesitant to audition for a big role, her performance was so strong that they offered her the role of Louise on the spot. She first appeared on All in the Family, and when they decided to create the Jeffersons as a spinoff, she almost turned down the role. But when they told her they'd recast the part if she didn't take it, she changed her mind. Isabel's decision paid off. In 1981, she made history by becoming the first Black woman to win an Emmy Award for Outstanding Lead Actress in a Comedy Series. This was a huge achievement, and the next time a Black woman won this award was in 2023, when Quinta Brunson earned it. Originally, Isabel auditioned for a much smaller part, but her talent was so undeniable that she ended up landing the lead role, leaving a lasting legacy in television history. Back in 1979, when a popular TV show was suddenly canceled, it caught everyone off guard. Nobody expected it, especially the actors, who didn't even hear it from the network. Instead, a man at a newsstand told them the news. Around this time, things were also going downhill for Eric Monti, the creator of famous characters like George and Louise Jefferson. He was treated terribly, left homeless, and turned to substances. Monti didn't hold back in criticizing Norman Lear, accusing him of being racist and dishonest. Isabel Sanford, who played Louise Jefferson, returned to her role even after the show ended. She was really upset with Lear and the network for cutting the show off so suddenly without warning or a proper finale. Learning about it from other people only made it worse. After the show ended, it was hard for Sanford to find big roles. She tried a news show in 1987, but it didn't do well and was quickly canceled. After that, she mostly appeared in smaller TV shows and minor movie roles until her final role in 2004. Sadly, her health got worse after surgery, and she passed away that same year at the age of 86. Sherman Hemsley, who played George Jefferson, brought to life a character that was stubborn, bigoted, and bold. Very much a reflection of the time. George often butted heads with his neighbors, first with Archie Bunker, and later with Tom Willis. In many ways, George and Archie were similar, both stuck in their old ways, but slowly changing over time. Even though George softened a bit as the series went on, his fiery temper remained a big part of who he was. Interestingly, Hemsley was a lot younger than his character. He started playing George at 37, even though George was meant to be about 46. Norman Lear had always imagined Hemsley playing George, but at first Hemsley was busy with a Broadway show. Lear was so sure Hemsley was the right guy that he waited until he was available. Hemsley wasn't even sure what the role was at first, but once he started, his portrayal of George Jefferson was a hit with viewers. After the show, though, Hemsley struggled to find the same level of success. He took on smaller roles and had another notable part in the sitcom Amen. But this wasn't the toughest part of Hemsley's life. His personal life was always very private. There were rumors about his sexuality, but nothing was ever confirmed. When he passed away in 2012 from cancer, a long legal fight over his burial delayed things. Eventually, he was laid to rest with full military honors, having served in the Air Force before he became an actor. Thanks for tuning in. Do you think the privacy of actors should be protected more strictly, even after their death? Let us know in the comments, and don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell for more updates.